ladies and gentlemen. I'm really excited about my guest today here on Faithful Film. This is episode 3. This is a gentleman I have worked with before, and I've always been impressed. I hesitate to introduce him because the moment you see his face, you will forever remember how much uglier I am. Please welcome Ben Burnett.
That is not true at all. Not true. No, you're a stud. I appreciate it. Yeah, welcome. I'm grateful to be on. Thanks for letting me come.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's actually kind of interesting because just so people know what we worked together on before, you had played in a film of mine as Joseph Smith, and then you were recast in another mini series, A Marvelous Work, where you were playing a 21-year-old Joseph Smith. And I don't mean to let everybody know how old you are or anything like that, but you're not 21, but you pulled it off really well.
Oh, thank you. I owe you big time, I think. No, I do for sure. Because when that one came up as well, it was just kind of nice to, provide some information and context on like, oh yeah, I have done some of these other roles and
Cool.
you know what I mean? It's like I always kind of look at one job or one opportunity, one gig kind of leads to the next. And I think yours really helped kind of provide the step to that other one as well. So it was great. I appreciate it.
That's really cool, man. I'm actually really glad to see that you took that on and you kind of pushed that further, which kind of it leads into my first question. Most
Uh,
people are aware of that you're a working actor. Is there a particular reason that you do most of your work in advertising and commercials versus film?
well, I think it's so I graduated in advertising and marketing. And I get that space, and I actually love that space, especially if it's comedic and funny. And I just always thought, how cool would it be to create an ad that people want to share, that it doesn't come across as an ad. And I think that is like the dream for anybody in the marketing advertising space. So that's kind of where I was drawn to, and I thought, man, I'd love to make funny ads that people share, and they don't really kind of don't realize that it's an ad, or really heartfelt ones too. Those are always special, but. No, the narrative section, the movies, the shorts that we did, those are all just really cool as well. I just always looked at like, how can I stay in the game? This is it. And if you can stay in the game, the longer you can stay in the game, you're in the game. And I just always felt that like commercials, advertising, all that kind of stuff, marketing keeps you in the game. And I don't think that there's enough, at least for me as a father, to really be supporting my family on the narrative side, unless you're going to go to a different market. And
Sure.
there's no way I'm getting a Utah girl out of the out of the Utah market. And I wouldn't to LA. I did I served my church mission in Long Beach, and I've seen that space, and it's a beautiful area. It's just very different, that LA area and Atlanta, to kind of raise my family and whatnot. I think they're doing great here, and so it's fun to be able to travel. But again, what can you do honestly to stay in the game? And that's always just kind of come back to commercials. So
Some things are better left to a professional,
In hindsight, probably shouldn't have tried to remove my own appendix.
like when it comes to finding financial advisors.
What was I thinking?
It's been really cool to actually see your wife and I think your kids sometimes pop up in some of these commercials and in advertising. So in a lot of ways, it seems like you have full support and it's a little bit of a family business that way. But the other
yeah,
part of it is there's a lot more dollars in marketing, advertising, and stuff like that than in narrative because advertisers are like, hey, we're going to get a return on our investment here, so we can
yeah,
afford to pay an actor like Ben X amount of dollars, to come in here for one day and do this shoot. Whereas narrative, it's just like, wow, we've got this feature to do and we need this guy for 20 days. And if we paid him that amount for 20 days, then that breaks our budget. There's a lot less likelihood of a return on investment when it comes to narrative film. So, yeah.
yeah.
So does that mean that your main source of revenue is actually in acting and commercials?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's been cool. Yeah, I talked with a few people on that. I think when it comes to COVID, there was a lot of things that obviously were very, very bad and sad, and it was hard for a lot of people. But I feel like it's really opened up the doors for those that want to work in other markets, in other locations. And so that's been kind of the case for me is I don't just work in the local Utah market, but I work wherever I can to support my family. And so that's been able to be the case to be a working actor for sure,
Have,
traveling into areas and being able to make it happen.
but have you ever had to turn down a very what's the word for it? A very interesting and attractive film role because it did not provide enough to pay the bills and keep your family afloat?
Yeah, film, it's so interesting. Obviously, it's really fun to see projects come across that you're super passionate about, and yours for sure. It's like, and again, at the end of the road, after you've done, tons of commercials, they're like great, they pay the bills, but
Mhm.
being able to tell stories like what I was able to be a part of with the story that you helped put together, those are like the coolest and the most rewarding because you look back on them, and I still have that clip that you sent me on that Joseph Smith piece. It just was shot beautifully. Everything was amazing. I put it in my reel.
Mr. Law may someday kill me, but it won't be today. They can't hurt me till my time has come.
Oh, it's so cool. But yeah, those heartfelt ones, those are money. Those are money.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is kind of sad when you see some of those and you're like, what's the amount of time away from family, versus the, compensation? And yeah, there's a few, not, I don't know, not like a ton. You kind of have to weigh it out. And if the story really speaks to you, and of course, religious pieces, those are like awesome. And if somebody can see that and be motivated to make a change in their life. I think sports ones are also really, really cool where you're like, you see a really cool sports one, Miracle in hockey. Remember the Titans in football. They're not necessarily religious, but they are persuading people to improve their lives, make changes. Those are ones that I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely would like to make the sacrifice that if all the other stars align to provide the accommodations and whatnot, I'd love to be a part of those. They're just those ones that are really awesome. So
That's really quite cool. And this wasn't on my questions, but what you just said inspired this next question. I saw you in a commercial with all-star NFL quarterback Peyton Manning. What was it like working with him?
Full House cookies, best cookies in the world. How much of that y'all see?
Way too much of it.
Nestle Toll House, magic in every bite.
Oh, Peyton was cool. It's so funny. You don't even think about this as you're thinking about your career. I mean, my career was never supposed to be in this side. It was going to be advertising or maybe finance. Those are kind of the directions that I kind of went. And I'm like, to be able to work with like Peyton Manning, Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Johnson, the NASCAR driver.
Carvana same day delivery is ultra fast, and today race car driver Jimmy Johnson is here to get us even faster. Jimmy, you ready?
I am so. The door's pretty quick too. Yeah.
Amazing. I just ordered it this morning.
Now that's fast.
Ultra fast. Buy your car from Carvana and get same day delivery.
Never thought I'd be able to even actually work with these guys or meet them or have a conversation with them. No, Peyton was great. I will tell you this though. Peyton's good, but I actually think his wife, Ashley, is actually the gem of the two of them. And I say this because Peyton's got, he's gotten a lot of recognition and he gets a lot of info and whatnot, and a lot of accolades for sure, and well-deserved. But his wife was a complete gem. She was just so cool, so personable. And we were just, we're just kind of like, we're not the main stars or anything like that, but you can really, when you sit down and talk with somebody, you kind of get a feel for like what they're like, their spirit, who they are. And she just wasn't, she wasn't cocky. She was humble. She had let Peyton have the light all these years. And it was kind of cool because they said, she's like, well, we did this for a reason, is because I wanted to be able to take our kids places and not be, mobbed or whatever, just people coming up, and her and the kids can kind of have this semi-normal private life. So I see the rationale there, but she was just a true gem. But Peyton was cool too. He's funny. He's got a different kind of sense of humor. I really applaud where he's taking a lot of his stuff with the Omaha productions and stuff. But no, cool guy to work with, and it was
That's cool.
a fun opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting because it just seems like that him and Baker and Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah.
they all kind of just popped up this year for you, right? And so
Yeah.
it seems like you're getting a lot more opportunity for what I would say are it probably pays more in something like that, right? I mean,
Me too. Yeah,
versus
the bigger brands.
in bigger
Yeah.
brands, yeah. So that's really cool. It's see that it's fun to see that you can really thrive at what you're good at, which I think you're good at everything. So anything you touch is
Oh.
you're like King Midas. Anything you touch, except for your kids, would turn to gold. Um,
Oh, thank
but
you.
I do think that that's pretty neat to see that you can go on a big stage like that and remain humble, Ben Burnett. I love
Oh,
watching
oh.
your journey ever since I've gotten to know you. It's been pretty cool. How do you balance your family? I guess it's probably not as hard of a balance for you since you're a working actor and that is probably your main source of revenue. But how do
Yeah.
you balance family life and what it is that you do as a profession?
Well, it is definitely a balance. It's a good question because I did a video and I was on a set a little bit ago and they had me in like a neck brace and like a sling and stuff, and it was a commercial where a guy falls off a roof and stuff, and I sometimes you make like comedy little sketches, little clips, and it's kind of funny, but there's almost like a little bit of truth behind it. And the caption I put on there is like, when you're self-employed, you still come to work even though you've got a neck brace on and an arm sling. And it's kind of the truth of it, where freelance work is just so, it's its own separate beast where you don't get PTO, the pay time off I had with corporate jobs. I don't get, the maternity leave and the paternity leave that guys and girls will get when they work for big corporations and stuff. And so that being said, it feels like you're constantly working and pushing yourself to work as much as you possibly can, but trying not to sacrifice the moments with kids and with
Gotcha.
family and all those kind of things. And so it's definitely a balance. Yeah, you've got all the time you want to spend with them, but at the same time too, you just know that if you don't dedicate so much time to your auditions, to your craft, to networking, to creating content, that you know kids don't get fed.
Right, absolutely.
And so, but yeah, it's away from me, just studying for them and taking them because they're like super stressful. But it was kind of like I burned the bridges or burned the boats when I left because I was like, as soon as my licenses expire, and they only last for 2 years, I'm never going back. And so to stay in the game, and then I think the longer that we're in this industry, you just kind of start to see, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what can we do to create content that moves, that edifies, that inspires? And I think that's really that's really where it comes down to, like on these religious pieces, on these there was a couple others too. There was like a bullying one a while back. I think it was Corbin Allred that had done this one, and it was about teenagers. In fact, it wasn't even, might have been bullying, but basically it involved teenagers, and when they'd go and give their, and I don't cry a lot. My wife jokes, she's like, "I've only seen you cry like 3 times," but I was bawling in this one, and it wasn't really related to specifically to the church, but it was basically parents trying to talk to their teens, and I've got teens, and so they see the face of the teen, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But then when they kind of showed actually how they look when they hugged their mom, you actually saw their actual face, and it was kind of beat up and and bruised and stuff like that. And I just think creating pieces like that, like little shorts, little PSAs, I think that are really super impactful. We have we're in an industry that has a medium that is it's so big and it has such a big reach that I think if we don't, we have kind of a calling, I believe, to create, and it doesn't have to be like full long, 20-minute pieces. It can be like 3 to 5 minute pieces or even shorter, but like content that that again moves, inspires, and persuades people to make good decisions and improvement in their life. In the end, those are the ones I'd want to be a part of. And once you're a part of a few of them, it becomes addicting, and you want to be a part of more of them. So,
And that's where you're at.
I think that's where I don't think you'll ever really get there 100%. I think it's just what you're always striving for. It's like, I think your life will be, I mean, I have a list of ones that I want to, like sports ones that I want to be a part of, and I can check those off as I go. But I think it's like anything, for example, I kind of have this mentality. I helped out with the police department here in Sandy, and they train police officers. And one of the sergeants there was saying, he's like, once you feel like you've gotten there, once you feel like you've arrived, he's like, I want you to turn in your badge and I want you to turn in your gun. You're done. He's like, we've never really ever arrived. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing with this as well. I feel like the calling to kind of keep creating content. And for me, staying in the game is number one. And then finding ways to create, be a part of projects that help, improve people's lives. I don't think you'll ever officially be there, but you just kind of want to be able to be a part of more of those and make sure that those are always still out there. Yeah, chasing down more opportunities like those, it'd be like, again, I mentioned the kind of fun sports ones. I think would be really, really cool. I think a lot of people can relate to, some of those, like Remember the Titans and Miracle, the baseball movies and things like that, oh man, those are definitely on my list of, or even like a Christmas one, something that like It's a Wonderful Life. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And people are going to, every year, it's going to inspire people to maybe not give up, that, they're going through challenges that, there's a bigger picture. Those are definitely on a list. I'd love to check off, but then I'd probably add like 3 more and be like, hey, I want to do more of those. Hey, I want to do a plug. Oh, sorry.
You want to do what?
I want to do a plug for you for anyone watching.
Okay.
This guy is the man, Ducon Williams. I just want to just say really quick, it was so funny how the story of how we met transpired, because again, there's a lot of you get a lot of emails and messages, and there's a lot of posts and people saying, oh, this is a fraudulent post. This is a scam. And I did have kind of my doubts initially, because I was like, I don't know, this guy's not in Utah. I don't know anything. And I'm going out to Missouri. We had a phone call before, so I felt a lot more reassured, but it was just so cool. You are such a stud to work with and work for and be a part of. I just felt super blessed after having done it all and the whole process.
Action.
You're finished with me now, Mr. Law. There's other things I need to get done. Good morning.
Anybody that goes to work with you, they are in for a treat. I really meant that after I had gone out to the location, worked with you guys, and just felt like, wow, this is awesome. Coming back, I wanted to reassure all of my Utah friends, hey, put the doubts aside. Ducon's for real. He's legit.
No,
I don't know
man.
that I don't have any doubts, but I
No,
mean,
thank you.
there's just a lot of craziness in this industry. And anyhow, I just thought you were such a stud, and it was
Oh, I
perfect.
appreciate that, and it's really humbling. I actually think that the shout out really needs to go to you, Ben, because now I got to tell my version of the story. So
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of aware of the apprehension that everybody feels when you don't know a person and they're asking you to go out of state and they're super small budget and you just don't know what you're in for. For Defiance of Law, when we were doing auditions, Ben actually auditioned for Dr. Robert Foster. And and I watched his audition probably, I don't know, 10 times. And I'm looking at it and I'm squinting my eyes and I'm like, this guy's Joseph Smith. He's not Dr. Foster. Not that you couldn't be a little sinister or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but that as his callback, I invited him to read for Joseph Smith. And he's like, wow, okay. Can I see a full script? And I'm like, that's a very necessary question. Yes, you can. And yeah, he read the script and was like, yeah, this is cool. And we had the phone call where, yeah, I can understand any kind of apprehension. You're just trying to get a feel for who is this guy, but we did you dirty. I don't know why I didn't think of this, but we get the plane ticket for Ben to fly out, and our AD goes up to pick him up from the airport. It's a 2.5 hour drive to the airport. There were several storm delays. So Ben spends the whole day basically delay after delay after delay, gets to the airport where my guy had been waiting for several hours, and our AD fell asleep. And so when Ben gets off the plane, he's trying to call our AD, and he's sawing logs in his car.
And it was like at midnight or 1. I mean, it was getting late. So yeah.
And credit to our AD, he had a long day. Like he had been helping me through setting up some film and all kinds of stuff, and he had a long day. But Ben's just like, I can't get a hold of anybody. I was in the middle of filming, so I wasn't checking my phone. And Ben's just like, I'm just going to rent a vehicle and head that way. I'm probably getting scammed. I don't know what your thoughts were, but whatever. We'll see where this goes. Yeah. So he rents a vehicle, and I finally get the messages like early the next morning, and I'm like, oh, great. And I'm trying to call Ben to kind of get an idea, where you at? Are you going to make it? All this kind of stuff. And the film crew's just like, so when's our call time if we don't know when he's going to show up? I'm like, hey, let's just stick to what we planned. Our call time's 5 a.m. We're going to get our film gear put together and get the lights out and everything like that. And hopefully something happens. And we get ready. We're ready to shoot. We're sitting there. And again, they ask, so have you been able to get a hold of him? Do we have an actor? And I'm like, I don't know. And out of the corner of my eye, I see these lights pass through the glass of the front door. And I'm like, could that be Ben? So I walk out there. And that's how we met. Is Ben had an absolute sleepless night. And just like the amazing actor and man he is, he's like, I'm good to go. Let's film this thing. And we shot an entire scene with him on a sleepless night, and he still looked good.
Return and act as if nothing had happened. Do as your employer requests.
It worked out perfect. We filmed that scene, and then we filmed it at the place where Ben got to stay. Then he got to sleep. And so we put him to bed while we were moving our location, moving all our gear. I think you maybe got an hour and a half. And come to set for our exterior scenes after that on a 1 hour of sleep, and you just killed it. It was so good. Your performance, your enthusiasm, every bit of it. It was just awesome.
Print.
Woo! Print cut. Check the gate.
Look at the eyes right here. That slight uncertainty.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Right before that wink. That was good.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
It was just that slightest uncertainty. You're still walking by faith.
Yeah.
But then you pull the wing, like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Cool.
Well done, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Well done. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great performance.
Yeah, it was a wild experience. It was fun, and again, it's how things happen, they happen, and you're like, well, I'm just like, I knew all was legit. We were all good, but I was just thinking, well, I don't know how long he's going to sleep for. And I'm like, I was just thinking, hey, we've got a short window to get the shot right before the light came up and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't leave now. So I was like, and luckily there was like the rental place was still open. They were like, oh yeah, we're only open for like 30 more minutes. I was like, let me just wait, So yeah, I just hopped in the car, and then I think he called me like an hour into the drive, and I was like, yeah, I rented a car. Sorry, you're gonna be like kind of behind me now, but it all worked out. It all worked out. You guys gave me, I think it was like 2 hours of sleep, and just grateful for like a little chance to close my eyes. But we got there, and wardrobe fit, and everything was there. We were ready to rock and roll. We got the shot off before the sun came up, and that was what I was hoping for the most. Is just, it's tricky to keep these things on schedule, and the timing can be short and stuff like that. But no, it all worked out, and it's always fun to see the finished product. I tell my wife that's like the second payment is, you get compensated for the role, right? But seeing the finished product is like payment number 2, and you're like, oh my goodness, like.
So how's it feel?
It's surreal. Absolutely surreal. So grateful for everybody being here. Amazing.
He's killing it right here. Daniel, he's got fans just going to be coming out of the trees here in a moment.
Is that a prophecy?
I prophesy.
Okay, that's it.
It did work out. Like, you couldn't tell. Yeah, like no sleep at all. But it all worked. It was perfect. It was great.
Not even
and you
a
guys
single wrinkle on your face either. No, Ben, you saved our production. You really saved our production, and I just forever grateful about that you had the awareness to say, we have a small window here. I'm going to have to make a decision. And I didn't even know the rental place was going to close in a half an hour like that. I mean, to me, that's a miracle I haven't heard about yet. So
yeah, I was just going to say, it was like at 2 a.m. And so I was just grateful that they were still open. But yeah, it all worked out. Sorry, go ahead.
So when you say second payment, you got to go to the premiere on the big screen. What was your experience like at the premiere?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it's way cool. It was fun to see. It's always so cool to see things just on the big screen. And you're like, no, it's so sad. I think since that's another thing from COVID, I've just been so much more of a fan of the theater. It feels like everybody now watches things on either a 17-inch or a 6-inch screen, and you don't really get that really impactful feeling of seeing it on the full deal. And so, no, it was cool. It was super fun, and it was fun to see so many people I knew in the film, and it's just a big treat. So that was fun. That was a good payment. I liked it.
That is good. It was great to. I felt bad that we didn't have any scenes for you in Utah. Because we filmed our interiors there in Utah, partly to just kind of get familiar with the Utah filmmaking community, and everybody we worked with. Oh, it was awesome. It was so nice. This is a perfect segue into one of my most important questions on the show: is how much does your faith affect what projects you will take?
Oh man, it's like everything, really. To be honest, I told myself, I had this conversation way back when I was in school. I went to Rick's, then left on mission, came back, BYU, Idaho. And before we graduated with advertising, they said, you need to make a decision. They said, when you're doing advertising and marketing, you're going to get pitched projects, and you just got to decide what you're going to work and what you won't work. And it's different for everybody. Same thing with acting. You're going to get pitched projects. You're going to get pitched scripts, all this kind of stuff, table reads. And you just got to decide, like, what are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do? And that's kind of been what I've been able to do. I had to decide early on is, here's what I am willing to do and here's what I'm not willing to do. Ultimately, I kind of try to live by, can my kids see it? can my kids, if my kids can watch it, boom, baby, like we're on the right track. And so I can't say it's like perfect for, for everything that I do, but for the most part, like 99%, I feel like I can honestly sit back and be like, yeah, they can. And you know what? You just kind of have to be like, I think that's just kind of the rule of life as well is, we teach our kids, if you make the decision ahead of time of what they will do, what they won't do, how, how's it going to make them feel, then the decision when it comes up later, it's just so much easier versus
Yeah,
being
it's
like,
like a subconscious thing. You just
yeah, it's like,
second
oh, I already made a
nature.
decision not to do that. I already made a decision to, like not work on this certain day or not do this type of script or not do these type of actions and whatnot. Boom. It's kind of what everybody needs to, I think, discover for themselves. And I had some really good acting coaches early on that aren't members of, I mean, I'm sure they believe in some type of belief, religious or
Sure.
whatnot, higher being, but they weren't a part of our faith. And so I kind of took their words a little bit more to heart because they weren't, and they said, do never be ashamed of what you're not willing, willing to do. It's costly to have morals. And I was like, man, you're totally right. Being in an industry like this and being able to turn down work for specific brands, for specific scripts,
Mhm.
mostly it's brands. I mean, I've had that discussion with a lot of my agencies that are, in my, the Dallas and Orlando and Denver market. And they're like, oh, you don't want to do this one? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Like, I don't want my brand, my face associated with this. And plus two, I don't want my kids to see that. And so it's just one of those kind of conversations you need to have. And, once you've had it, then you're good to go. You know your direction and just keep living it.
That's good. I'm glad. You should never be shameful about turning certain things down. And it's good to hear that your
Yeah.
faith is basically faith and family is, I guess, the filter that you process every one of your roles through. Am I going to take it
Yeah.
or not? On the topic of faith-based film, do you have any interest in storytelling, like writing and directing and projects or stories that you yourself want to tell?
Oh, for sure. Um, you always kind of think of like, okay, where are you going to go, down the road or whatever. And I think being a part of stories still as maybe like a director, it would probably be more like director or writing, a writer for sure. I mean, if there was something that came up now, for sure, I think I'd be able to entertain it. But it's definitely something down the road where I'm like, okay, this story needs to be told. Like the one that
Mhm.
we did we just I think a story hits you in such a way and you're like, this needs to come out, this needs to be there for other people to inspire them. Yeah, nobody else is doing it. It's like, okay, maybe this is my calling to kind of step that way. So I think down the road, my wife and I kind of talk about like what's the long-term career, long-term plan. And I would love to keep acting for as long as I possibly can.
Mhm.
Like down in 80s, I'd love to be, the grandpa or whatever, in some of these feature films for families or whatever that I would watch as a kid. And whether it's in the acting space or whether it's participating in a directing or, a producing, writing, something like that, for sure. I think those would be, yeah, I think they'd be really fun.
I fear the Lord still has not forgiven me.
I'm sure he has, Martin. The Lord is merciful, kind, and forgiving.
But I am not.
Remember, Martin, the Lord has said that if you rely upon his word with full purpose of heart, you shall see the plates.
I guess that's the question, isn't it? Full purpose of heart.
Come on, Martin. Let's try again.
So you've got your feet wet playing Joseph Smith a couple different times,
Yeah.
and you're aware that we're actively developing a 6-season TV series centered on Joseph Smith and his life.
Yeah.
Besides
Awesome.
Joseph Smith, are there any persons or characters in church history that are so interesting to you that you would be like, I would want to play that person. I want to experience the character arc of that person.
Oh, for sure. I read a book It's kind of a big book on my mission about Parley P. Pratt and some of his adventures and stories, and I was kind of blown away. It's been a while since I've read it, but I was like, man, that is a character that I don't know if there's a ton of stories, but I feel like, man, this book had some like really cool stuff that as a missionary, I was like kind of inspired. I'm like, man, I could be like a Parley P. Pratt, you know, and you don't run across a lot of Parleys. I've got a cousin that's a Parley. And so I'm like, man, that name just pops out. And I will say this though, really quick. Um, Playing Joseph Smith is kind of like, I don't know if you really want to do that. You know what I mean? Like for sure, when you gave me the
I can
opportunity, I wanted
understand that.
to play on it. But I was like, that's a character that like has a lot, you know, everybody has their own, you know, they've got their own idea, and he's at this such high bar. And so, and it actually was the same thing that happened. This is what's so comical about this one I did with you, Ducon, and then also with the Scripture Central folks. I was like, I don't want to play Joseph Smith. I'll play another role. And again, I when I auditioned for it, and they're like, hey, what about, would you go for this other one? And I was like, well, what is it? And they're like, Joseph Smith. And I was like, I've done that one before, and for sure. And he, you know, yes, you know, I'm fine to do it, but it's one that I'm like, you're kind of hesitant because he is that character. He's that person, and he's a real person, and his story is so impactful, and it's so meaningful, and it's like you're kind of scared in a sense that you're like maybe I won't do a good enough job, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So
just kind of
relatable.
worried. So like, oh yeah, let me take, you know, this other guy's role that isn't at that level.
Let me be Martin Harris.
Yeah, like give me somebody else. But
Martin, no one else.
No one else.
Promise me.
I promise.
Swear it.
I swear. I won't show them to anyone except my family.
When will you return, Martin?
man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like there was certain feelings and experiences that I feel like I got in my own personal testimony that I was like, I kind of walked away from those and be like, it wouldn't have been the same if I played. For sure, I'd be grateful to play these other characters, but it was definitely such a unique character and a fun one, and to kind of get in their mindset and kind of think, okay, this is my sister, or these are, these would be my actual friends, or this boy was a boy that I had taught, like you kind of create some backstory that it just makes it so real that it's on a different level. You kind of don't get that when you read, the church history and you read stuff. I mean, you kind of get it, but as an actor, like you're trying to like
embody
be that person. Embody that person for a short window. And there's just some cool experiences. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I'll be honest, I was pretty hesitant at first, and that's why I'm like, I'll pick a different character.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Thanks for giving me the chance to run with that.
Thanks for doing it. I couldn't be more happy with your portrayal, honestly. And it's kind of interesting you mention it, because the last guest I had on the show was Mason Davis. What both of you have in common so far is that both of you have played Joseph Smith twice, and that both of you have said that it influenced your testimony of him.
Yeah.
To me, that's cool. Yeah, that's got to be really, really, really hard. Mason said that he could never play Jesus. I don't know who could. I don't know how Jonathan Rumi does it. I don't know how he felt like doing it, but even he says that it's influenced his testimony and his prayer life and everything immensely to try to get in that headspace of acting like Jesus. What you never want to see is when, I guess I would ask that question is, can you see yourself playing a villain?
I mean, I should say yes and no. It depends on what they're doing, because there's like certain movies I don't even want to watch because I'm a very visual person. Once you kind of get those images and ideas and thoughts in your head, it isn't happening. Like a serial killer, for example. No way, Jose. It's like, in fact, I was watching some commentary on a podcast, and the guy that was playing the serial killer for a Netflix show, he said, they're like, yeah, have you ever had some, fairly negative, dark thoughts? And he's like, yeah, when I saw my mom one time, it was blah, 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 blah. And I was like, heck no, that is the reason for me. Never. I love playing, more, happy, comedic, heartfelt. But where I could be a villain is, and I think it would be kind of fun to do one where it's a twist, where, hey, they think this guy is the good guy, kind of like in Ghost. I don't know if you've seen Ghost, but one of the main characters at the beginning, you think he's a good guy, and I hope I don't ruin it for anybody. Anyhow, but it's like you don't know, you don't see it coming, but he's not like this crazy, messed up character that's doing all this dark stuff, but maybe, it's like he is, in the end, he's the bank robber, you know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah.
he kidnaps a person or whatever. It's pretty minor. Yes, I could do that. And I think that'd be fun. I think ones where there is a gotcha or a twist, I think those are kind of cool movies where they're like, it was kind of thought out and you didn't see it coming, and people enjoy those. I think they kind of enjoy that stuff. And I think that'd be kind of fun to play a character like that, where it would be, hey, you thought he was the good guy, but in the end, like, he was the one or whatever. So, but yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm glad you shared that with me. What a TV series allows characters to do, it helps them to go through the full journey. Whereas a movie that you're trying to cram too much in 2 hours, you can't really do that. There's been movies that do a pretty good job with that, but a lot of it feels rushed. And to give an example, I love the movie that the church put out called Joseph, Prophet of the Restoration. And it beautiful movie, inspires me, makes me cry every time that I watch it. There's a particular scene where you hear the voiceover of Lucy Mack Smith, and she says that mob violence was increasing, etc. And they show this scene where the mob is meeting in a barn, and this guy says, we got to drive out these Mormons, and if we have to kill a few, all the better, right? And it's just a short scene that just makes you go, was that their motivation? And that's not a criticism to the filmmakers. They kind of had to do that. But when you actually, for example, one of our villains in season 1 is Willard Chase. He was a close neighbor to the Smiths. He was the Methodist class leader, likely was the one, because when Joseph says he was leaning toward the Methodists before he actually prayed and had his first vision, he's likely one of the ones that Joseph confided in. And he's also the guy that claims that I found a seer stone in our well, and Joseph took it from me and never gave it back. And he's also the guy that put the band together that was chasing Joseph through the woods to get the plates. Yeah. He was one of those guys. And his character arc is very, very interesting because he's a clergyman at the same time. He's a gold digger and a clergyman, and most clergymen don't like gold diggers. So he's kind of doing this double standard life.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's a villain that's well intended, but his methods are not very good, and he's a little two-faced. Yeah. So those types of characters to me are intriguing.
Yeah.
And I can see you doing something like that rather than a full-on, I guess the closest I've seen you villain is that recent commercial where the lady's at the keyboard and you're like supposed to be the quality control guy, and you got this big grin and you lean in and you're like, stick to the script. that was like some very villain like. No, in fact, I wanted to make a meme about that, like when the writer is also the director. Script.
You should. Yeah, I think that's good.
If you don't mind me using your face, I mean, I think that's just hilarious.
Yeah, totally. I know exactly. It's kind of funny because that one, it's interesting how things like come out at certain times. And when I posted that little clip, they were all like, there's a horror scary movie, Smile. And the second one just came out. And they were like, is this like something with Smile 3 or whatever? And I was like, oh, I never really thought about it. I'm like, no wonder like people, I mean, like chiming in and commenting on it so much, because something did come out that has a lot to do with a scary Smile. And this one kind of looked like that a little bit. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, sure. I say you go ahead, do it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do that. It might end up in here.
Nobody is getting their packages on time. It'll probably take 3 to 4 business days.
Stay on script.
And you're bringing out your Missouri the mob the villain voice there a second ago. I thought I heard it just you kind of went into a little bit of an accent. I thought it was cool.
Oh
So.
yeah, I do that at times.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah. So Ben, what in the film world, what are you working on next?
Let's see. So we finished. I finished a really cool feature that again, it's another one of these where you're never really sure how it's gonna turn out. And I got to play. It's interesting when you see the script and you look at all the different characters and you're like, okay, who are you being offered, and who would you like to play? And they were like, hey, we'd like you to play this role, and it was a dad role, and it was nice, it was good. But then I looked at this other role and I'm like, this guy's like crazy. He's like super crazy. I'm like, I'd like to play this guy. Can I do that guy? It's like he's just like wild and homeless kind of guy, not like he's not bad, but he's just crazy. And I call him Crazy Carl. And yeah, I got to do it and I was like, oh, that's super fun. So anyhow, that was a fun project. That'll be at the film festival. And there's a couple other shorts that we did, like that Smile one or whatever, that turned out really good. So I think we've kind of wrapped up a lot of those other projects. A lot of it right now is still just kind of the commercial space. And I just find it super fun to create like just fun comedic content.
Okay, I got the plates, cups, and hey, they said we had Dwarf's taffy shoes.
We do. They're in the pinata.
In the pinata! Back, you animals, back! Save me a pistachio! Oh, buddy!
Or just to enjoy for yourself. Visit dwarscandy.com and order some for yourself today.
I see a lot of, I teach a youth class on Sundays, and a lot of these kids are on these social media platforms, TikTok and Instagram and things. And my kids, I don't let them get on any social media, but I'm like, man, if they're going to get on there and spend some time, maybe we'll give them something kind of a little bit more comedic and wholesome. And not that I do an amazing job, but I think it's just kind of fun. You do some stuff. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's just something like that I try to do, and if I can make some money at it with brands along those lines as well, then that's an added benefit. So yeah, just looking for, always as an actor, you're always looking for other opportunities and chasing down the next one and following up on ones. And but yeah, a lot of commercials, a lot of ads, and other little projects that are kind of popping up too. That'll be fun.
That's awesome. Well, is your next film project Honest Joe that you're shooting?
Yeah, I think so. It's I think there was a few, and again, it's kind of one of these ones where you hear little tidbits of things and then you're like, okay. So there's a few that are kind of in the works, but I don't know exactly how soon, or if what's going to happen as far as scheduling goes. But yeah, I think Honest Joe might be the next. So which would be
That's
awesome.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, everybody, he is the ageless wonder, Ben Burnett. Man, it's so good to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time to come visit and share your faith journey and your film journey. I honestly can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. You're
Thank
awesome. It's great to work with you. So
You as well. Thank you.